Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Why have you chosen to come to Startup and Grind today?
I heard about the guy, Bob Dorf, who wrote the book, and so I want to see what he has to say.
A couple months ago, I went to a Startup Grind event in New York with Gary Vaynerchuk as the guest, and loved that. Just loved the energy, the vibe, creative people. And so when I heard there was one in Greenwich, I said, I've got to be there. Looks like you have some great speakers here and great people attending. So I'm looking forward to be part of it.
I chose the event because of the author. We're a startup and we're following Steve Blank's process, so it just seemed like the right event to come and attend to learn more about it.
Startup Grind is meant to inspire, connect, and educate entrepreneurs in the local community. We're based here in Greenwich, so we're the first Google organization based in the area, and we're serving Fairfield and Westchester counties. And we're really here to just kind of move the needle and inspire some of the local entrepreneurs, the founders, get them motivated, get them educated on some of the key topics that they need to be aware of in order to be successful. Dorf, he is a Columbia Business School professor. He actually used to also teach at Harvard Business School. And he's the co-author of a book called The Startup Owner's Manual, which he co-wrote with Steve Blank, famous from Silicon Valley. And the Startup Owner's Manual is kind of like a how-to guide, 600-page Bible, so to speak, of all the different steps you need to take in order to build a successful startup and subsequently a successful business.
Terrific. It's a guy that's published a book about startups, and if you are not planning on starting a startup, you're still going to get a lot out of it because there's a certain process to developing anything, and if you understand the key to what it takes to take an idea and bring it to fruition, that's going to help you in every part of life, not just with a startup.
We came today because Peter invited us. We're here to support him and also support the movement for startups in Fairfield County and all the great work that Peter and his team are doing.
I want to thank you all for coming to the second Startup Grind Greenwich event. Very happy to see all of you here. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Bob Dorf to Startup Grind Greenwich. Okay, so why don't we start on a personal note? And why don't you just share with us, where you were born, how big your family was, what your father do?
Sure. I was born a very long time ago. In fact, I saw a startup pitch a few weeks ago in Iowa City where they got up and said, people get really senile and forget a lot of things when they turn 65. And I said, thank you for that birthday present. I'll turn 65 in June. I am not voting for your startup, but grew up in Stuyvesant Town in Manhattan, huge sort of middle-income housing project. A brother and a sister, both younger, and my father, came out of World War II, spent the first 10 years as a journalist, and then quickly realized that journalists make more money when they work in PR agencies, switched over, and had a very successful career running, increasingly sizable PR agencies, but on 2 or 3 different occasions turned down the opportunity to go out and start his own because he was a depression kid, and the ridiculous risk profile of entrepreneurship. So I mean, that's probably a bit of a taste.
Yeah, I just want to get to personalize you a little bit. So, what was your first entrepreneurial venture, and how did you come about being an entrepreneur for the first time?
Well, I think I had the sort of mutant strand of DNA that is almost a requirement for a serious entrepreneur, because I guess to correctly answer your question, my first entrepreneurial venture at the age of 12, I went out and bought a couple of snow shovels and ice picks, and whenever it snowed in New York, which before global warming, that was a reasonably frequent event, I'd call 3 or 4 of my friends at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, come on, we're going to go shovel the sidewalks of every store on East 14th Street from Avenue D to 2nd Avenue. It was a lovely business. It actually had an exit value. I sold all the crap to my brother when I went off to college, and he had a little trouble getting out of bed in time to shovel snow. But my first real one, I guess, is there were 15 between that and the day in October of 1972, when at the ripe old age of 22, I had a spectacular job that I worked like a dog to work my way into. I was at 22, a senior news editor at WINS 1010 All News, paid a fortune, probably paid more than my father was earning in 1972, roughly $300,000 a year in today's dollars for a 22-year-old, kid with no academic credentials whatsoever. And I went home to my parents in their housing project to tell them that I was quitting this $300,000 job because I wanted to start my own business. Eventually, that business sold for more than $30 million, and if you had told me that in 1972, I would have told you you were absolutely out of your mind. And I did it for 2 reasons. First, I couldn't imagine doing this wonderful job for 40 years. The beautiful office, newsroom, 90 Park Avenue, 40th Street. It was a union job, so if they kept you 5 minutes over, you got paid. I mean, it was just unbelievable, but I couldn't see how I could do it for 40 years. And the other thing was, I knew I was a better king than serf, and I really wanted to be my own boss and do my own thing. So my parents were beside themselves. My father was talking to psychologists about who's going to talk to me. And I still remember vividly, what happens if it fails? Well, Dad, I think it'd look pretty good on a resume. Left big job at WINS, started a Marcom agency. It failed, and now I'm, going to take the lessons I've learned and come, get a W-2 from you. It didn't fail. It didn't, got off to a slow start. The incredible luck factor, right? WINS can't have people who run PR, promotion companies editing the news, but they missed my reliability. And about 2-3 months after I started the business, I got a call from the news director. Hey, we could really use you on the sports desk at night. And so I turned this $300,000 job back on for about 2 years and went to work from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. on running, being the sports editor, and then got up at 6 and worked from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. building my business. And the magic of that was I could take every